What happens when two powerhouse vocalists clash over artistic integrity and the music industry's darkest secrets? The episode of the Kelly Clarkson Show that was meant to be a routine promotional stop for British singer RAYE quickly turned into one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. From the moment RAYE stepped onto the set, the atmosphere felt different. Kelly Clarkson, known for her warmth and easy charm, greeted the Grammy winner with her usual enthusiasm. But RAYE's demeanor hinted that this would not be the typical feel-good interview. "RAYE, welcome to the show. I have to say, your album has been absolutely phenomenal this year," Kelly began, flashing her trademark smile. RAYE nodded politely, but there was an edge in her voice as she replied, "Thank you, Kelly. Though I have to be honest, I'm not sure phenomenal is the word I'd use to describe the journey to get here." The shift in tone was immediate. Kelly, caught off guard, tried to keep things upbeat. "Well, the success speaks for itself. You've broken records, won awards, and your fans adore you." "Success," RAYE repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "That's interesting because I've been thinking a lot about what success actually means in this industry, and whether the price we pay for it is worth celebrating." The audience, expecting light-hearted banter, began to sense the tension rising. Kelly attempted to steady the conversation, praising RAYE's independence as an artist. But RAYE's sharp laugh cut through the studio. "Independent? Kelly, do you really believe that? Do you think any of us are truly independent in this machine we call the music industry?" Kelly shifted uncomfortably. "Well, you're not signed to a major label anymore, right? You're releasing music on your own." RAYE leaned forward. "That's where you're wrong. Just because I'm not signed to a traditional record deal doesn't mean I'm free. The same people who control the labels control the streaming platforms, the radio stations, the award shows. We're all dancing to the same tune, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise." Trying to lighten the mood, Kelly countered gently, "I think you're being a bit hard on yourself and the industry. There are so many opportunities now for artists to connect directly with fans." RAYE's voice rose. "Connect? Kelly, when was the last time you had a real conversation with your fans? Not a photo op or a meet and greet, but a genuine exchange about what your music means to them, about their struggles, about the world we live in." Kelly's smile faltered. "I talk to my fans all the time. They come to my shows, they write to me." RAYE didn't hold back. "They come to shows where you perform songs you didn't write, backed by musicians you didn't choose, in venues owned by corporations that see them as dollar signs. Where's the authenticity in that?" The audience was silent, realizing they were witnessing something raw and unfiltered. Kelly's tone hardened. "I think you're being unfair. I've written many of my songs, and I choose the musicians I work with." RAYE shook her head slowly. "I used to look up to you, Kelly. When you won American Idol, I thought you represented something real. But look at what you've become, a daytime talk show host asking softball questions and pretending everything in this industry is sunshine and rainbows." Kelly's composure began to crack. "I think you're confusing authenticity with cynicism. Just because the industry has challenges doesn't mean we should tear everything down." "Challenges?" RAYE shot back. "Kelly, we're talking about an industry that chews up young artists and spits them out. An industry that values profit over artistry, manipulates streaming numbers, and pays artists fractions of pennies while making billions off their creativity. These aren't challenges, they're systemic problems." Kelly, trying to regain control, insisted that things were changing for the better. "Artists have more control now than ever before." RAYE laughed again, bitterly. "More control? Do you know what my streaming payout was last month? Do you know how much of that money actually reached me after everyone else took their cut? Do you know how many meetings I've had where executives told me my music wasn't commercial enough, marketable enough, safe enough?" Behind the scenes, camera operators exchanged uneasy glances, waiting for cues from the control room. It was clear that the interview had veered far beyond what anyone had anticipated, and neither woman seemed ready to back down. Kelly made another attempt to salvage the situation. Her voice measured but tight. She said she understood RAYE's frustrations but insisted that her guest was painting with too broad a brush. "There are good people in this industry," she argued. "People who genuinely care about music and artists." RAYE's eyes flashed with a mixture of anger and disappointment. "Good people?" she repeated. "Tell me about these good people who sit in rooms and decide that mental health struggles should be packaged and sold as inspiration porn. Tell me about the good people who convince artists that sharing their trauma is empowerment, while profiting from their pain." Kelly's composure wavered. Her practiced media training was clearly at war with a genuine discomfort about where the conversation had gone. "I think you're being overly cynical about artistic expression," she said carefully. "Cynical?" Red shot back, sitting up straighter in her chair. "Kelly, I spent years being told that my experiences weren't universal enough, that my pain wasn't relatable enough, that my anger wasn't marketable enough. And now that I've finally found success by being honest about those experiences, I'm supposed to be grateful to the same system that tried to silence me." Kelly's face had gone pale, but she pressed on, trying to steady her tone. "Red, I think you're conflating personal struggles with industry issues. Sometimes healing and sharing our stories can genuinely help people." "People help people." Red's voice rose, her British accent sharpening with emotion. "Kelly, do you remember when you talked about your divorce on this very show? How many times did your team calculate the emotional impact versus the ratings boost? How many focus groups decided that your tears would test well with your target demographic?" Kelly's mouth opened, then closed again, visibly stunned by the personal turn. "That's not fair," she managed, her voice trembling slightly. "My divorce was real. My pain was real." "I'm not questioning whether your pain was real," Red replied, her tone fierce but steady. "I'm questioning whether the decision to broadcast it was about healing or about content. There's a difference between sharing your truth and performing your trauma for applause." The audience sat in rapt silence, some visibly uncomfortable, others leaning forward as if afraid to miss a single word. Kelly tried again to regain her footing. "I shared my story because I thought it might help people going through similar things. Isn't that what art is supposed to do? Connect us through shared experiences?" "Shared experiences," Red repeated mockingly. "Kelly, what experiences do you actually share with your audience? You live in a multi-million-dollar mansion. You have teams of people managing every aspect of your life. You haven't worried about paying rent or buying groceries in decades. What exactly are you sharing with a single mother in Ohio working 2 jobs to keep her lights on?" Kelly straightened in her chair, her voice firming. "Just because I've been successful doesn't mean I can't relate to people's struggles. I came from nothing. I worked my way up." "You worked your way up through a television competition designed to create marketable pop stars," Red countered. "You won a contest?" "Kelly, that's not the same as grinding in small venues, sleeping on couches, and choosing between buying guitar strings or eating lunch. That's incredibly dismissive of my journey," Kelly snapped, her tone sharper now than anyone in the audience had ever heard from her. "I may have won American Idol, but I still had to prove myself. I still had to work." Red leaned back, studying Kelly with a mix of pity and frustration. "Do you know what I was doing when you were winning American Idol? I was 14, writing songs in my bedroom, dreaming of having a platform like yours. When I watched you win, I thought maybe there was hope for artists who wanted to say something real." "I do say real things," Kelly protested. "My music has always been honest." Red's voice softened, but her words cut deep. "Your music, Kelly, is what a committee of executives decided would be honest enough to sell records but safe enough not to offend advertisers. There's a difference between honesty and market-tested authenticity." Kelly's jaw tightened as she struggled to maintain composure. "I think you're being unfair. I've always tried to be genuine with my audience." "Genuine?" Red laughed bitterly. "What's genuine about asking me softball questions about my success when you could be asking about the real issues? What's genuine about having a platform this massive and using it to make people feel good instead of making them think?" "There's nothing wrong with making people feel good," Kelly shot back. "The world is dark enough. Sometimes people need a break from all the negativity." "And there it is," Red said, pointing toward her host as if she had proven her point. "That's exactly the problem. The moment someone tries to have a real conversation about real issues, it's labeled as negativity. The moment an artist wants to challenge the system instead of just entertaining, they're told they're too political, too angry, too negative." Kelly's voice rose defensively. "I never said you were being too negative. I just think there's a time and place for different kinds of conversations." Kelly's voice faltered as she tried to maintain control of the conversation. "I think you're oversimplifying a very complex situation," she said, but the lack of conviction in her tone was evident. Red's eyes blazed. "Complex? Kelly, it's only complex if you're benefiting from the system. If you're being exploited by it, it's actually pretty simple. The people at the top make money, the people at the bottom make art, and everyone in the middle pretends that's just how things have to be. Kelly attempted to redirect, clinging to the last threads of civility. But you found success, Red. You've overcome those challenges. Doesn't that prove the system can work? Red held Kelly's gaze for a long, tense moment before speaking, her voice quiet but searing. Do you want to know what my success cost me? What I had to compromise? What I had to give up or pretend not to see? Do you want to know about the meetings where I was told to smile more? To be less confrontational, to make my music more palatable? Kelly's voice came out small, uncertain. Success always requires some compromise. Some compromise. Red repeated, the words cutting like glass. Kelly, I was told my song about assault was too graphic for radio. My song about mental health was too depressing for streaming playlists. My song about social injustice was too political for award shows. At what point does compromise become complicity? The tension in the studio was unbearable. Kelly's professional polish was cracking. I think you're conflating business decisions with personal attacks, she said weakly. Business decisions? Red echoed, standing abruptly. Her voice trembled with controlled fury. Kelly, these business decisions shape culture. They decide which stories get told, which voices get heard, which truths get buried. When you reduce art to business, you're not just affecting artists. You're affecting everyone who might have been moved, changed, or inspired by the art that never gets made. Kelly rose too, desperate to regain command. Red, maybe we need to take a step back. A step back, Red repeated incredulously. That's exactly the problem, Kelly. Every time someone tries to push forward, challenge the status quo, demand better, they're told to take a step back. Well, I'm done stepping back. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of what had become a live implosion. Kelly's voice strained with effort. I think we both want what's best for artists and for music. Maybe we just have different ideas about how to get there. Red's expression hardened. The problem isn't that we have different ideas. The problem is that you've forgotten what it feels like to have ideas that actually challenge anything. Kelly's face flushed red at the accusation, and for the first time her famous composure cracked. You know what, Red? I've been trying to be respectful, but you're being incredibly ungrateful and frankly, delusional. Ungrateful? Red's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Ungrateful to who? To the system that tried to silence me for years? To the executives who said I wasn't commercial enough? To the industry that profits off our creativity while paying us scraps? Ungrateful to the fans who support you, Kelly shot back. To the opportunities you've been given. To the platform you have. Do you have any idea how many artists would kill for the success you're complaining about? Red laughed bitterly. There it is. Be grateful for the crumbs because other people are starving. That's exactly the mentality that keeps this broken system alive. Instead of demanding better for everyone, we're told to smile and be thankful for whatever scraps we get. It's not about scraps, Kelly insisted. It's about recognizing that success requires compromise and collaboration. You can't just tear everything down because it's not perfect. Collaboration? Red's eyes burned. What you call collaboration, I call exploitation. When the partnership is between a multinational corporation and a single artist. When one side holds all the power, and the other has to be grateful for whatever they're given, that's not collaboration. That's coercion. Kelly's voice rose, her patience gone. You're being naive if you think you can succeed in this business without working within its structures. The music industry is a business, Red, it's not a charity. And that's the problem, Red said, stepping closer. The moment we accepted that art should be treated like a commodity, we lost something essential. Music isn't a product, Kelly. Songs aren't inventory. They're pieces of human souls. And when you treat them like merchandise, you destroy everything that makes them meaningful. That's a beautiful sentiment, Kelly snapped. But sentiment doesn't pay bills or fund tours. It doesn't feed musicians. Red looked at her with disbelief and pity. Do you hear yourself? You're proving my point. You've been so indoctrinated by the system you can't even imagine an alternative. You think the only way to fund creativity is through corporate exploitation. I'm being realistic, Kelly retorted. You're being idealistic to the point of delusion. Realistic? Red's voice thundered. What's realistic about streaming companies making billions while paying artists fractions of pennies? What's realistic about record labels owning masters for decades? What's realistic about radio stations that only play what's paid for? Kelly threw up her hands. So what's your solution, Red? Burn it all down? Destroy an industry that employs millions? My solution, Red said, her tone fierce but steady, is to stop pretending this system is inevitable. To stop telling artists to be grateful for exploitation. To use platforms like this one to have real conversations about real problems instead of pretending everything is fine. This is a daytime talk show, not a political rally, Kelly shot back. People tune in to be entertained, not lectured. Red recoiled as if struck. Entertained? That's it, isn't it? When did we decide entertainment and truth were opposites? When did comfort become more important than honesty? When we realized people have enough problems of their own, Kelly said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. They don't need to fix the world during their lunch break. Red's expression hardened. Kelly, during their lunch breaks, people are scrolling through social media watching the world fall apart. They're anxious, exhausted, hopeless, and your solution is to distract them with 30 minutes of fake positivity. My solution, Kelly said through clenched teeth, is to give them hope. To show that success can mean kindness, gratitude, and positivity. To make the world a little brighter. Brighter for who? Red demanded. Your version of brightness blinds people to the truth. When you convince them that positivity matters more than honesty, you don't make the world brighter. You make it more ignorant. Kelly trembled with anger. I've dedicated my career to helping people. I've raised millions for charity. I've supported countless causes. I've tried to be a good role model. Charity? Red said with disdain. Charity is what you do when you want to feel good about helping people without changing the systems that hurt them. Charity keeps everything the same. That's enough, Kelly said, her voice shaking. I don't have to stand here and be insulted by someone who thinks cynicism is wisdom. Red looked at her for a long moment, her tone softening into sadness. Kelly, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to wake you up. You have one of the biggest platforms in entertainment, and you use it to sell comfort instead of truth. That's not cynicism. That's tragedy. Kelly's voice went cold. I think this interview is over. You're right, Red said, unhooking her mic. It is. But not because you're ending it. Because I'm done pretending conversations like this matter in spaces like this. She removed her microphone calmly and looked directly into the camera. You want to know about my fans? They're people who feel voiceless in a world that profits from their silence. They're told their struggles don't matter. Their pain isn't marketable. Their anger isn't appropriate. They deserve better than this. She set the microphone down on her chair and looked back at Kelly. I hope someday you remember what it felt like to say something that mattered more than whether people liked hearing it. With that, Red turned and walked off the set, leaving Kelly frozen in stunned silence before a shocked studio audience. Red, please, we can work this out. Kelly called after her, but Red didn't turn back. She lifted her hand in a gesture that might have been a wave or dismissal and disappeared off stage. The cameras kept rolling as Kelly stood alone, visibly shaken while the audience sat in silence, knowing they had just witnessed one of the most unforgettable confrontations in daytime television history.